It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, he couldn't wait.
They're never gonna see it coming.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Explained Weekly Q&A. I'm Alex.
I'm Molly.
And we're going to talk about Tales of the Empire in a second, but real quick, like we do, what have we been up to the past weekend or week or so?
We went to the beach, had a little beach moment.
Beach moment.
It felt like a moment. It was quick.
It was fast.
It was like a little 2-day getaway, but it was nice.
Yeah, we have a friend who has parents with a beach house, and so we just went down with them. It was Zach, who was in Stash Squadron back in the Star Wars Squadrons days, back when we were the top Star Wars Squadron in the world for like a week.
Yeah, for a week.
And then the game came out and everyone got to practice more and we got destroyed.
Yes.
But for a while there, Zach was one of our top pilots. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we went down there and still, while we were on vacation, we wound up watching The Bad Batch again.
We had to.
I know. Well, Zach hadn't seen it yet, and he was talking about how much he loves The Bad Batch, and he hadn't seen the Asajj Ventress episode, so we were like, I guess we're watching it.
It felt nice to watch it with someone who doesn't, cover it like we do, and just like in a completely relaxed setting, just appreciating everything about it, knowing that we'd already covered it, we'd already talked about it, and then getting to watch it with someone who we don't get to watch Star Wars with very often. That was nice.
I like Zach's takes a lot because he works as a camera operator. He flies drones and arm cars and stuff, but he has a different perspective, and he's talking about like how great the cinematography and animation looks, and so I always like watching stuff with him. We also wound up getting really into, I was about to say X-Men 97. We've already been into that. I've really been enjoying X-Men 97. But while we were down there, we just wound up watching some of the old, just X-Men, 92?
You really wanted to watch it.
I've been enjoying 97 so much. I mean, I haven't watched the original series since I was a kid, and I don't super remember it. It was just one of those things where, like, you got up and you watched X-Men and Spider-Man, and so I'm feeling like going back and watching some of this stuff, and I'm enjoying that a lot.
The theme song really gets in there.
It's an earworm, and I can't stop humming it. It's like the Willow song, yeah. You just can't help it. It screams childhood.
I'm loving the new stuff so far, too. The most recent episode was, like, really bizarre, but I miss that about cartoons.
It's just whatever we want it to be this week. I saw people talking on Twitter about the episode with the Goblin Queen and Mr. Sinister, and how if that were a show today... that would have been like a...
What's the direction of this show?
Well,
Where
no,
are they
like
going?
That would have been a 5-episode arc. And they crammed it all into one episode where it's like, that's not the real Gene. Mr. Sinister's behind it all. He's kidnapped our child, and now our child's back in time. And like, so much stuff happens.
It's very soap opera-y.
It's great.
Which, I don't know if cartoons were always like that, and I just don't remember what that's like, and my child brain is so far away from me now, but I dig it. It's nice to have something like that to wind down and watch after a full day of like Bad Batch coverage. Yeah,
that's what we did on Wednesday. We watched Bad Batch, we talked about it all day, we did our live stream, and we went down, we cooked dinner, and we watched X-Men 97 and that weird like video game episode, which had so many fun callbacks to like the old Sega game or the arcade game. Good stuff. I'm liking X-Men. This isn't an X-Men channel.
It is not.
It's a Star Wars channel. And this is Thursday when we're recording it, and I was genuinely wondering what to talk about in the Q&A, because
I mean, there's plenty to speculate about in Bad Batch, but yeah, we were like, I guess we'll keep going with Bad Batch coverage and maybe take some random questions. But then Star Wars was like, nope, here's a bunch of stuff.
Well, a lot of the Bad Batch questions were stuff we've talked about quite a bit already. Like, who do you think CX2 is? And will we find out more? And we do have some Bad Batch questions in here. But yeah, Tales of the Jedi came out. The trailer, I can't even say it right. Tales of the Empire. The trailer came out. And that was super exciting. Really, like, energized me. Yeah. Got me pumped up.
My exact reaction.
Molly made me go downstairs and put batteries in that. It's been dead for years.
I needed it.
The trailer was not what I was expecting at all. I mean, we've been thinking there'd be another season of Tales of the Jedi, and instead they dropped this. And even that, I was like, okay, more Empire era stories. Like, we've had a lot, but I definitely dropped an expletive in the middle of the trailer because wasn't expecting to see Barriss Offee in there.
I had just showered. I was getting ready to go grocery shopping, and you came in and told me that the trailer had come out. But when I heard the name of it, I was like, Tales of the Empire. Okay. Like, I wasn't immediately super excited. Because, yeah, we've gotten so many stories already about, you know, the classic characters. But then when we watched the trailer, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I cannot get enough of Night Sister stuff, first of all. That looked great. Barriss coming back. We've all been clamoring for that. We've been asked for years about what we think Barriss is up to. Where do we think she'll pop up again? We got her.
Finally. And I think this is the perfect place for it, for both of these stories, where Barriss is something that we've wanted the answer to. It doesn't need to take up space in another series. I mean, I was one of those people that was like, maybe we'll find out more in Ahsoka. I don't know. Like, and I never really was sold on the idea that it made sense way down in that part of the timeline. Mm-hmm. But here it's like, hey, we can spend 3 episodes, not a whole series, not a whole season, but just 3 shorts, like, about what happened to Barriss. And I'm like, great. It's not a quick little answer, but it's enough.
Yeah. And it looks like we will get to see a good chunk of time from when they take her straight out of her prison cell to her kneeling to Darth Vader. That was an incredible scene.
I saw people on Twitter, our friends, talking about bow to your new master, and everyone's like, who's it gonna be? We know it's Darth Vader. And then you hear the breath and you're like, oh my god, it's Darth Vader.
It's him.
Still, every time.
Everyone's fanboying in the audience, and whoever's in the background of that scene, all the Inquisitors are like,
all the Inquisitors are trying to hold it together. It's interesting thinking about Barriss and Anakin. I mean, she probably doesn't know it's Anakin, but Vader might give her the stink eye through his helmet. I don't know how you give the stink eye with the helmet on, but he might.
Yeah, I was thinking more like I was excited to see what kind of conversations she had with the Grand Inquisitor.
That's also cool, yeah.
He was one of the temple guards throughout her trial, but yeah, Anakin too. I don't know how much they'll chit-chat. But I'm sad for her. Like, her story is a tragic one, so I'm like sad to see her go through all this and become an Inquisitor, but I'm excited that she's back.
My current theory is that she's going to come out the other end more like Reva. I think she's going to go back to being, maybe not a Jedi, but I feel like she's going to have to see the hypocrisy in herself of being like, you Jedi have lost your way. And it's like, well, yeah, you also bombed and killed them, Barriss.
She went about that all wrong.
Yeah, and so to see her keep going down, like, you are also losing your way, Barriss. And we know that Morgan is a character that stays with the Empire, even though I think she's more concerned with the Night Sisters and bringing them back. But she stays an ally to the Empire through all of it. And we're obviously going to see that in the series. But I think for some contrast, Barriss will become an Inquisitor and decide, oops, messed up, and hopefully try to fix some things, maybe kill the 4th sister.
Yeah, I liked seeing the 4th sister again. I thought her design was really cool, and she didn't get to do much in the show, in Obi-Wan, so I was glad that she was going to be in this too.
It does seem like, you know, the way animation is done, it has to be done way in advance. So Dave Filoni probably had a bunch of these ideas and character designs, and he's like, and then the 4th sister can go in here, and Marrok can go in here, and then maybe we'll learn more about each of them in these shorts.
Yeah, we're getting Marrok, and do we know the name of the other Inquisitor, the one that's in Tales of the Jedi?
I've been calling him the 6th brother because he basically takes that position in the Ahsoka novel.
Okay.
But I think Dave Filoni has said it's not really, I don't know. It's
Birdman.
Birdman.
That's what I'm calling him.
I used to love that cartoon too.
I didn't watch that cartoon, so I wouldn't call him that if I had watched a cartoon named that. But
he's a hero. Birdman's a hero. This Birdman is not.
We don't know where he ends up. Well, I guess we do. We see Ahsoka kill him. Yeah. Never mind.
But that's interesting for like the timeline, because I think these 3 stories are going to jump around quite a bit. And if I'm right, and Barriss winds up being the one to maybe kill the 4th sister, that means that part of the story doesn't take place until 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. But maybe she doesn't kill the 4th sister. Maybe she just leaves the Empire in the Inquisitorius, or dies defending that Jedi. Mm-hmm. That could be sad.
Yeah.
Like, we see that one little fight where she's running up and the 4th sister is fighting a Jedi. I don't think we recognize them. And so I think Barriss is going to do the right thing there and help that Jedi. So maybe she'll just perish defending a Jedi instead of killing them.
I hope she gets in one really good jab at Vader. Not knowing that that's Anakin.
Oh, yeah. Like a verbal jab?
Yeah. No, oh, yeah. I don't think she's anywhere.
Gonna fight him.
She's not anywhere near capable of fighting him, but something for him to chew on mentally.
Well, we do have some questions about the trailer, but did you have anything else you wanted to bring up before we move on?
I'm just excited. I'm excited about the idea of different, like, Night Sister clans.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that.
Different witch clans in general. So far, all we know about the witch clan in Acolyte is that it's called a witch clan. But I'm just like, we're getting these like little tastes of other sorts of witches in Star Wars, and that that excites me. Yeah.
So, I thought you were about to smash the hype button again. So, on Dathomir, there are various clans of witches, and we mostly know of the Night Sisters, but back in Legends, there were several clans, and then the short story anthology book, Stories of Light and Dark, set up the idea that, yeah, there's more than just the Night Sisters there, and that story was written by E. Ann Convery, who is married to Dave Filoni, but the mountain clans are mentioned in that story, so I think it's cool that Elsbeth is going to meet these other clans, maybe be trained by them, or I think the matron is going to save her from Grievous. But yeah, I'm excited to see more witches of Dathomir, and then in the Acolyte we'll get more just witches of whatever that planet is.
Right, yeah. And Grievous, I saw a lot of people getting really hyped to see Grievous in animation with his lightsabers.
Yeah.
Just like the newly animated Grievous, like his model looks real crisp.
That fight with him and whoever that Night Sister was with the sickles, that looked so cool. Mm-hmm. I thought that was Morgan at first, but it does appear to be someone different on the poster.
Yeah, Star Wars put out like a little video highlighting the announcement, and they just called her a Night Sister, and I was like, if that was Morgan, they would have said Morgan fights Grievous. So I think that's just one of the Night Sisters.
It seems like maybe she will be important to Morgan.
Yeah.
Or else why would we see that? I'm thinking that like a lot of people might be trying to save Morgan because she's young or something. And we'll see how that goes. But I really am digging what her story looks like already. We've barely seen it, but just that one line that she had a bunch of cool lines in the trailer, but like, my world's been burning since I was a child. And then she thinks that gives her an excuse to go burn other people's worlds. Like, yeah. Nah, man, stop.
I mean, any surviving Night Sisters out there have good reason to be angry, but yeah, it doesn't excuse that kind of behavior.
Well, it's like Marin, especially in the book Battle Scars, goes really hard after the Empire because she now knows that the Empire was basically in charge of Grievous, that the Sidious was controlling both. And
she has a nice little monologue about fire also, about how, like, don't let it consume you.
In Survivor.
In Survivor, the video game. She's talking to Cal, and she's like, you can gain power from the fire, the anger, but don't let it consume you.
Yeah, if you get too close, it'll consume you. Yeah, I like that we have seen a couple Night Sisters who are survivors, but Marin is someone that stopped going so hard after revenge. And I wonder if Morgan is ultimately after revenge with the Empire. Like, again, it's all connected with her in Ahsoka saying for Dathomir under her breath. It's like, this has all been for them. It hasn't been for the Empire.
Yeah.
She wants to help get the Great Mothers back to Dathomir.
Yeah, I'm really excited that Morgan is back in for more storytelling, because I was kind of meh on her, and then we got Ahsoka, and all throughout that show she was just getting better and better, and then in the finale she was incredible, and then she dies, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
Well, you never know. If Asajj can come back, so can she.
Yeah. Night Sister.
Although she was left on top of
business.
like a crumbling tower, so that might be a little bit harder to do.
Yeah. Dave will find a way if he wants to.
Yeah. But let's get into some of the questions we got. So first up is from Caleb Diaz, asking if Tales of the Empire is replacing Tales of the Jedi Season 2. I think it probably is for now.
I do think they'll have more Tales of the Jedi, like a Season 2 of it, but now that we know they're doing Tales of the Empire, they could do Tales of the Bounty Hunters,
Right.
Tales of the Mandalorians, Tales of
the Cantina, Tales from Jabba's Palace, like
Right.
do all the old Legends anthologies.
Yeah. Someone on Twitter was talking about where Ventress fit and all that, and I was like, Tales of the Pretty Ladies. That's what I want.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other conversation of, we kind of thought maybe she'd be in Tales of the Jedi Season 2, and now I'm like, well, she might be getting something bigger.
Yeah.
But we don't know. So for now, like, I don't think Tales of the Jedi Season 2 is going to come out this year. When Dave talked about it at Celebration last year, and he was like, another season of Tales of the Jedi is coming, I think he meant this is basically Season 2 of Star Wars Tales, or Tales of Star Wars, or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah. I'm remembering now, I think it was on one of our panels at DragonCon last year where we were like making theories about what was coming for the next season of Tales of the Jedi, and we mentioned like Tales of the Rebellion and maybe that they could do different versions of the show. A lot of people had that idea.
It was our idea and only ours.
But I'm really glad they're doing it, and I hope that means we'll get other different series.
Yeah, it seems like something they could just do once a year on May 4th, because I don't remember when Tales of the Jedi came out. I know it was a one-day drop. I feel like it was later in the year, but regardless, if they just every May 4th was like, hey, a bunch of new Star Wars tales, enjoy, nerds.
Yeah, it's a nice little taste of animation. Like, it's not a full-fledged show that takes a bunch of work and a long time to make, but we're getting the same super high-quality animation. We're getting the same insanely good music by the Kiners. Like, it's like the perfect little bite size.
Yeah, I think it's like an hour and a half total to watch everything. And like I said, this is such a good balance of, clearly there are a bunch of themes at work and really good character storytelling going on, but it also is going to satisfy that Star Wars question side of the fandom where it's like, where's Barriss? What's the deal with Morgan Elsbeth? And so on. I think this is going to strike a really good balance.
And Dave said years ago, I forget where, in an interview or something, that he had plans for Barriss.
Oh yeah, he said that like almost for a decade, probably.
Which is like, if you say that to Star Wars fans,
Dave, you better
be ready for questions until you fulfill those plans. So
I hope he does a nice interview on StarWars.com or something where he's like, there, are you happy? You finally happy? But yeah, I like the idea that we can bounce around. It doesn't have to be limited to Tales of the Jedi. I'm sure they will bring that back at some point.
Yeah.
I would like them to.
There's a lot more Jedi that we need stories
Sure.
from, in my opinion. I think there's plenty of room.
Yeah. I mean, we were throwing around, I wanted Tar Vizsla to be one of the Jedi covered, but now we can do Tales of the Mandalorians or something instead.
Rey and Finn.
Yeah, well, I mean, they might hopefully just be in the new Jedi Order movie.
Maybe. Who knows when that's coming?
I would prefer to keep them for that,
Sure.
but like stuff like where's Barriss and little just universe timeline questions.
Luke and Ben, then.
Sure, that'd be good. Yeah, I like that.
I'll pick ones that we know are dead.
Speaking of death, Diabologist asks if Barriss will be the one to kill Luminara Unduli. Will she face her master again?
Ooh.
Part of me likes that.
Part of me likes that. But last we see her in Revenge of the Sith, she's, leading clones on Kashyyyk.
And then...
Does she get away from all that?
Well, in Star Wars Rebels, they show her imprisoned and, like, in handcuffs. And that's part of the bait that they use to get the Ghost Crew.
Is that real? Or
I would assume it's real at some point.
Like, I thought maybe it was fabricated for
could be
for the bit.
Yeah, it could be. I guess I assumed it was actual holo footage that someone captured at some point. But yeah, maybe not. Could have been all fabricated.
That wasn't my first thought, but I mean, that is pretty bittersweet.
There are things about Luminara Unduli that I think would have rubbed Barriss the wrong way, that probably sent her down a darker path, because there's that episode where Barriss and Ahsoka are stuck in a tank and they're suffocating, and Anakin's like, we have to do everything we can to save them, and Luminara's like, it might be the will of the Force. You're like, come on.
She's a little curt.
Yeah.
She's a little blunt, about her feelings on that stuff.
So there is a part of me that I don't want to see that necessarily, but I'm like, it does have a kind of poetic feel to it.
Might be too dark of a twist for something like this.
It does kind of line up with the Inquisitor book, though. Like, Iskat in that has to kill someone that was close to her.
Yeah.
Not super close, but that she had a relationship with when she was a Jedi. So that might be a test that they put Barriss through. But I think that we're more likely just going to see her fighting another candidate. That's probably going to be her big test and what gets her to graduate into being an Inquisitor. Mm-hmm. There are just a bunch of little questions that they could fill in with gaps and be like, yeah, what did happen to Luminara Unduli? Hey, it's in here too. Sticking with other characters that have some questions surrounding them, Kyle Barrett asks if Marrok will link Barriss and Morgan's stories.
Oh, that guy. Do we care about him that much?
I was done with him. When Ahsoka was on, I was like, it's just Marrok. He's not Barriss. He's not Starkiller. It's just some new Inquisitor.
Just a lot of green mist.
Yeah, but then when the green mist happened, I was like, well, hold on now. Then I had even more questions. So I do think there's a chance that Marrok could appear. I mean, we know he's appearing in Barriss's side of things because we saw him in the trailer. I think there's a chance that we could see him in Morgan's story too.
I mean, I would like to see if he was in fact like a possessed spirit that Morgan had doing her dirty work. Like, I would like to see what that looked like happening in real time and something like that.
What if Marrok was sent to kill Morgan? Because the Inquisitors did hunt down more than just Jedi. They went after all Force sensitives. So if they found out, hey, there's a Night Sister running around, send Marrok out there. And then she beats him, kills him, and then she's like, and you're mine now, and reanimates him. I like that idea.
Didn't we read something on like the mythological side of like the names and stuff, or like the storytelling about a witch like possessing a dead person and like having them work for them? Marrok's
name comes from Arthurian legend, and it was like a werewolf story, and he was turned into a werewolf by a witch, or by his wife that was in league with a witch, something like that. So I think that there's a chance that we could see the reason he's named Marrok. Mm-hmm. And again, I think Filoni may have seeded him in Ahsoka to be like, here's a neat villain. You don't really need to know more about him to get it. Like, he's a dude with a red lightsaber, and people who just watch Star Wars on streaming or just live action can be like, oh, neat. And now he's dead. Okay. But those of us that really care are then going to watch this animated show and be like, oh, okay, cool. Here's his full story.
Star Wars nerds are like, he died, but a bunch of green magic mist came out, and that has to mean something, right? Like, that's Night Sister magic.
Yeah. And so I think there's a chance that we can see him connect both of those stories in a more real way. I think thematically they're going to be very connected, the same way Ahsoka and Dooku's stories were. I wonder if they're going to have the same structure, where, like, if it goes Barriss, Morgan, Barriss.
Yeah.
Or if they're going to, like, mix it up again.
It seems like Morgan's all about getting revenge, and I mean, Barriss might want to get revenge, but they're like pushing it on her. They're going to be like, don't you want revenge? Like, I could see the Grand Inquisitor pushing that idea on her and it being hard for her, kind of. I
don't know if it's revenge for her or just this idea that the Jedi messed up and they need to be taken out.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a chance that, like we saw in the Ahsoka shorts, the Inquisitor, the Sixth Brother Birdman, whoever, burnt a village down and killed a bunch of people just to find one Jedi. And so if she witnesses that, she's like, oh, I'm the problem.
It's me.
Hi. She might recognize that the Jedi do have value. She sees this Jedi defending life and she's like, oh, I'm the baddie.
Yeah.
And
are we the baddies?
Yeah. I think she'll turn things around. Hopping over to the Bad Batch, Spider-Man of Earth 1218 asks if Sid is going to get any redemption.
Boo.
Boo, Sid.
Sid. Boo, boo, boo.
We need an anti-hype button. I think we're done with Sid. In season 2, thought very clearly that they were building up to, hey, Sid, they're going to need some help and Sid's going to do the right thing. Because they've been helping Sid for 2 seasons. Omega keeps pointing it out. Sid likes Omega. If for no one else, Sid will help Omega. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. I guess there's a chance, we brought this up on the live stream, that, you know, they don't know how to get to Mount Tantus. They don't even have a ship. But I don't think they would find Sid and be like, hey, can you help us out? We trust you for no reason. Especially when she just hurt them again and gave up Fee. There's
no trust there whatsoever. And we do hear it's the CX clone, right, that says the Trandoshan.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, she just gave up Fee's name.
Yeah. We don't know that she wasn't tortured for that information, to be fair, to play devil's advocate. We don't know how willingly she gave up this information, but I'm still saying boo to her that we don't need to see her again.
I am thinking that she probably gave up that information pretty easily.
She had so many chances to do the right thing along the way and kept choosing not to. And I mentioned this on the live streams a bunch, but I was like, I think she might be a good lesson for Omega to see that sometimes people don't change for the better. You know, sometimes it's better to accept that they are hopefully going to work on themselves one day, but that this relationship isn't beneficial to you anymore and you got to just like take yourself out of it.
Yeah. And Sid kept on showing them who she was and what she was going to do. And I was over here like, she'll come around. I'm more naive than any of them. I was like, she'll come around.
Surely she'll do the right thing. This is Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, that was my exact thought. And I still think that Sid is not incapable of redemption. But I don't know if it's going to happen in this story. I don't know that we're ever going to see her be redeemed. I still think it's nice to see Omega get burned by someone, but she still has faith in other people. She's still willing to give Crosshair a chance. She's still willing to give Asajj Ventress a chance. So she hasn't lost, like, that hope in people in general.
Well, she's really good at reading people, and when she's talking to Ventress, she's like, I think you actually do want to help me. And so I feel like maybe Omega would see Sid now and maybe being a little older, a little wiser, and she would say, I think you haven't changed for the better yet.
And I mean, I'd have to go back, and I do want to rewatch this whole series now with like all this information, because I think the arcs have been really well done, and there's probably stuff that we haven't even caught yet. But going back to my first thoughts of Sid with Omega, I'm like, she likes Omega. She taught her how to gamble and stuff. Well,
she taught a kid how to gamble.
She taught a kid how to gamble
and work
then,
at her
and then
place
profited.
of business.
Like, Sid was profiting off of Omega. It wasn't like, hey, let's bond. It was like, hey, how can I use this for my advantage?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if I went back and watched all that, at any time that they had a little fun moment, it was probably for Sid's benefit.
It's a hard lesson to tell, and especially in a show like this, you got to be careful about it. But it's like, kids can't trust all grown-ups.
Yeah. And for our last question, I thought this was fun. EM quotes Darth Plagueis, who once said, "The Sith embrace the spectrum of emotions, from the heights of transcendent joy to the depths of hatred and despair," and asks if we've ever seen a Sith experience the heights of transcendent joy.
I was just trying to imagine Vader expressing any sort of joy.
Wizard!
Maybe if he got a new foot or something. Like, his robot foot's really been bothering him, and he gets a brand new one, and he's like, you know what? This is a good day.
You immediately made me think of the Robot Chicken sketch where he's got roller skates on his boots, although then he winds up like falling in a toilet. But
what if he learns to roller skate after, and he gets a hang of it and has a great time?
Yeah, he'd be transcendent joy right there. I was going to argue that I think we have seen transcendent joy from Palpatine. Like, that's a man who loves to cackle, and I think he's really happy. The unlimited power moment, that's transcendent joy. It's messed up because he's killing someone, but that sparks joy.
He was thinking about that moment for weeks ahead of time. He was just like
weeks ahead of time and weeks after.
It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, he couldn't wait.
They're never gonna see it coming.
But he's laughing when he's zapping Mace Windu.
He's loving it when he realizes that Vader is Vader.
When he's fighting Yoda, still cackling. When Luke and Vader are fighting, still laughing. Like, violence just brings him transcendent joy.
He really likes to mess with Yoda.
Yeah.
He was having a great time.
He seemed pretty happy when he got his new robes in The Rise of Skywalker, when the dyad gave him a little facelift, barely.
There were moments when I feel like Darth Maul had this kind of like idiotic sense of joy, almost like there's just nothing going on up here. So when he was just really in his element, he was having joy. When
he finds out Obi-Wan is still alive in Rebels, he's like acting weird and seems really excited. So that could be transcendent.
When he gets the Darksaber and is up on the throne, you know he's in a state of joy.
You don't spread out on a throne and not feel transcendent joy.
That was the man-spreading of a joyful man.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.